Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Rhonda.
Let's talk about differences in the male-female brain. We're going to look at this in a
We got
series.
this information from Dr. Carolyn Leaf's book, Who Switched Off Your Brain? Solving the Mystery of He Said, She Said.
So let's start off looking at the area of conversation. Men typically look at conversation more as a means to an end.
For men, they are literal, direct, and brief, talking about facts more than feelings.
We can tend to look at it more like a game where you're volleying back and forth until someone scores a point and then brings a conversation to a conclusive end.
Men typically like to talk to solve problems, and they bond through accomplishing tasks.
And a wife can help her husband in this area by letting him know where the conversation is going.
Giving him periods of quiet to process the information.
Now let's talk about how women look at conversation.
So for her, it's an experience, and she wants to enjoy conversation, and she's happy to follow it wherever it leads.
She's going to bond while talking, while conversing.
And she supports others in this way. So her husband can help by allowing her to enjoy this connecting through communicating.
So, sharing something that Dr. Carolyn Leaf said, a man may let conversation die out, but he's not being rude or standoffish. He enjoys and interprets periods of silence as quality companionship. He uses these periods of time to process the communication.
So women love to talk and view conversation as quality time. Connecting through conversation activates the reward circuits in a female's brain, causing huge amounts of dopamine and oxytocin to be released. Men don't get that stimulant from the process and tend to use words deliberately to express what they've already worked out in their minds. The brain circuitry of males and females causes them to talk about the same thing differently. Women get a rush of pleasure when talking. It makes them feel good, helps relieve tension, makes them feel happy, and decreases stress. She's not racing to a conclusion. She's enjoying the process.
Wow, that explains so much in the way we talk about things. Sometimes men are trying to use as few words as possible to accomplish where they're trying to go, whereas women love giving more detail, filling in the gaps.
Can you see how this can cause a problem in a marriage?
Yeah.
So when he is just communicating the bare minimum to get to the end of what needs to happen here, she needs a little bit more from him.
You know, sometimes we need to give more detail to fill in the spaces that are left in our spouse's mind about what is he thinking.
Right. And so a man can get a little bit more verbal to be able to connect with a woman, but a woman may need to kind of give the headlines. Maybe she can save the more in-depth communication for her lady friends. But with him, she might want to make it more brief. She definitely wants to be aware, and they both do actually, not to monologue.
You know, so many times we can think that, wow, there's something wrong with my spouse, that they think differently than me. But what if we understand that God wired our spouse differently than us, and that the way they're looking at things is not wrong, it's just different.
Right, and so what if he allows her opportunities to connect with him verbally because he understands she has a need there and he wants to be the one to meet that need. He doesn't want another man coming into her life meeting some of her core needs, but unfortunately a lot of men don't get it, that this is a core need for a female.
You know, I love the part where it talks about it's a rush of dopamine for a woman when she's conversing, because she's really getting energized. But what if, as the woman's talking, she's getting energized, but he's deflating?
And you know, the thing is, I think we bring this out a lot in our videos and when we're working with couples. A man wants to understand that a woman has need of emotional sex just like he has need of physical sex. There may be times when she just doesn't feel like having physical sex, but she may give herself to her husband because he needs it. And so it's kind of the same concept. He may not always feel like having emotional sex, but he may give himself in this way because he understands she needs that.
You know, being able to meet our partner's need that's not our own core need is so important.
And so in the husband and wife, what do? We see these differences. And so we can come together by him pushing himself to engage, connect with what she says, make some connecting statements, give her this opportunity, and bounce back and forth with her. Just like with physical sex, you wouldn't want her to be just passive and she really doesn't care. Hey, are we almost finished? Just the same with emotional and verbal connectivity for the woman. She doesn't want the man participating, like, okay, are we done yet?
Yeah. Or just giving one word answers.
Right. And so she also connects with him by reducing some of her words because he can get lost in the number of words. And we come together, but we're able to talk about these differences so we can come up with something that looks like a we as we blend in this area.
This is just one area that we've covered today in the area of conversation. What can you find to apply to help your marriage